Right, that more or less concludes the repairs to this. It now starts and runs and drives and... Eventually, yeah. So we're done. It's time to get on to phase 2.
What's phase 2?
Despite the fact that there is a ramp here, by the way, I'm going to bring this next door and put it on a different ramp for obvious reasons.
What's the obvious reason?
Well, the last time this was anywhere near that ramp, it ended up in that state it's in.
Ah.
I like this.
There's a happy man in a JDM vehicle with a minor MOT issue.
There is something about old 90s Jap tourers that I'm really in about.
I am so suspicious.
Oh, what a shame. Look at her. Look at her. But we're going to make it all better.
So let's get into it properly and see just how bad this is. Now we know it's going to be the windscreen. That's actually coming first, believe it or not, because, well, it's a windscreen, there's nothing I can really do with that. It's all glass and whatever else. So that'll get repaired and you'll probably not even see it because who gives a about windscreens. Bonnet, we know it's going to need that. Although I'm actually stunned to say that underneath the bonnet looks alright, it's not increased, so that's good.
And there it is, an RB25.
RB25, yes. Nice and solid, man. What a waste. Well, I wouldn't call it a waste, I'd actually call it quite promising. Shall we put her in the air, see how she looks?
Yes.
God, it's a f***ing big car, isn't it? Ooh! It's like a long walk from the front to the back.
What do you think, big boy?
Somebody's f***ing jacked it.
Aye. That's classic Jap
That
stuff.
f***ing breaks my heart when you see stuff like that.
Classic Jap stuff. But, what can you do?
It's clean, man. 4 plans get a wee bit of rust on the outer edges.
Aye, it's easily dealt
For a
with.
car that's nearly the same age as me.
Yeah, we can deal with this. So I think our initial step will be removing the bumper.
Let's
Yeah.
get the wheels off, get them out of the way. We're
Um,
going to need to take the other arch liners out.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's something resembling a Skyline, but I'm not sold on this bumper. I don't know if he is, but we'll come back to that. Anyway, you'll notice the complete lack of headlight. Obvious and easy win. Now this headlamp here is okay, so we're lucky in this respect. However, this guy has a big crack in the lens. Now, let's have a wee discussion about headlights, shall we? So the price of headlights, much like the rest of R33 stuff, is breathtakingly expensive. I've managed to get this, and by the way, don't let the lens fool you. It's got more holes than Swiss cheese in it, and it was the cheapest I could find at 150 quid. This stuff is just obscenely expensive. What I'm going to try and do at the first instance is save the lens. Luckily the backing that's on the lens that's on the car is actually okay. In fact, if anything, it's in better nick than this. The problem is it's the actual lens cover itself which is cracked. So we'll try and amalgamate something good out of the two of them. But first of all, we need to see if we can save this. I've done this a few times. I'm not sure if it's going to work on this occasion, but what we're going to do is sandpaper, which seems extreme, and it is extreme. But, you know, you either go extreme or you don't fix it. So 1200 grit to begin with. So I'm going to give it a good scrub first with a wee scourer, wee damp guy, just to get some of this schmutz off it and see what I'm dealing with. Already, that is an improvement. Well, obviously it's wet, which will, I'm not gonna lie, when things are wet they look better. Okay, well that first run of 1200 grit's taken a lot of just that cloudiness off of it. It feels a lot smoother, I've got to say, although there is still a complete lack of clarity. Now, there's going to be two things causing that. One, well, we've just 1200 gritted it, so you know, it will cloud things up just by sanding it. But number two, I can still see streak marks in this. And I'll be honest, I think it's coming from behind, because this has got a cracked case and I think water's been coming in. So before I go any further, and noting as I have that there are clips on this, I'm going to try and separate the lens just to clear it off and give myself a clearer look at what I'm actually dealing with here. Because if we've got clouding behind the lens, we could be at this for ages and not really know if we're getting a solution or not. So yeah, the lens is coming off. So we've got the lens off. Point to note if you're ever doing these with R33s, everything here is plastic because these are these, except this one glass lens for some reason. So be careful that doesn't fall out. What we now have is a fairly dirty looking, but more or less intact outer lens. The inner is, by the way, wrecked completely, but we're not going to get too hung up on that because we don't need it. So what I'm going to do here is there is like black sort of holders for these lights. They just unscrew it. I'm going to pop them out so I'm left with nothing but plastic, and then we'll see what kind of nick that's in. So that's kind of the cloudiness you're looking for. Well, I think we're going to find out shortly once I try and hit it with some lacquer. But I'm going to try this and see if it brings back a shine. You'll know if it works when the lacquer goes on and it all of a sudden looks shiny and clear and see-through. So let's see if this will work. And this is the back of the offside lamp. Now, as you can see, most of the damage seems to have been visibly on the front, apart from the rather necessary mount. Now, as luck would have it, I actually still have said mount here, and as you can see, we could probably come up with some form of repair here. I don't know, what do you think, guys? Gorilla Glue? Yeah, we can do something with that. What I'll probably do is get that bonded on, and then in the interest of keeping rainwater out, we'll probably just glass fibre the rest. But looking down here, that cracks a big boy. So let's get this all split and see if this back casing is going to be of any use. Got this guy back on now in some fashion. I'm not really confident it's going to work, but it's glued with the best glue I've got. It'll be a very gentle reapplication when it goes back onto the car. We'll still need to deal with this wee hole here, and obviously this monstrous big hole here. But I have an idea, because if you follow me to the back of the car, what we still have... Oh, no I don't. Where's the old one? Anyway, I'm looking at this for the next 24 hours. I want it to properly set. Like I say, I only really get one chance of doing this repair correctly, so no point in rushing it. Right, I've managed to find it. So that is the old one that came with the lens that was saved. That obviously is humped. This is a new one, much cleaner, but also has damage. Now, if you look very closely, by some miracle, this bit isn't damaged. And it's like the only bit on the old casing that isn't damaged. So I'm going to, yeah, you know what's happening here. I'm just going to cut out an overlap section that's going to come over here. We're going to bond it in place to keep the water out of this. Other than that, we've got a wee bit around the back here, which I can't quite see. That I'm just going to fill it with silicone. We might add a wee bit of a gusset with plastic welding on here, just to give it a bit more strength, but that's pretty much all it's going to need. And after that, now, I haven't really discussed this yet, but there we go. That's about as good as it got. As you can see, it's not perfect, but it's not cracked, and you can see through it, so that's good to go as well. Lacquered, polished, that's all it needed. So that's good. So what I'm doing here is just heating the plastic and the knife. The knife will obviously get quite hot and quite cutty. Obviously I don't want to melt either of these things. I'm not really going to melt the knife with the heat gun, but I don't want to burn the plastic, so we're taking our time with this. But I'm just using it to give a nice precise cut and hopefully take the perfect chop out to put onto the new lamp. Right, I've given this a wipe down with thinners. And now we're just going to glue these two parts together. Now, I never said this is going to be a perfect repair, and as luck would have it, or wouldn't, it's actually still short in a couple of bits, but that's because there's still a crack on that spare panel that wasn't fully accounted for when I chopped it all off. So what we're going to do here is just glue it on and hold it in place and let it bond as much as we can. When using super glue, I say super glue, it's not super glue, it's like actual proper like Gorilla Glue stuff. But the trick to this stuff is it's got a cure, right? So it actually has to start going off before you join the parts. Otherwise it'll take bloody ages, and in some instances it might never set. So what you have to read the instructions obviously, but you really have to let it sit for 5 minutes before you join the two parts together. Right, well that smells nice. I'm also going to match the same parts on here so that when I join them together we are adhesion to adhesion, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to get every single edge sorted on this, but I'm still going to coat every single edge just in case. The last thing I want is for a single bit of this to be missed. Now I'm going to be honest, I'm going to just hold this for like 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm sorry for the boredom that's going to cause. Don't worry, I'll edit it out. I won't make you sit through it. Yeah, was that fuck standing there holding all that? Plan B, cable ties for the win. Also, those wee compression clips over the headlight, pretty handy wee thing just for nipping that corner. So, another 24 hours, and we'll see if that does anything for the solution. 24 hours later. Let's see how we did. It's pretty much on there. Will do. Oh yeah. Just a couple of wee gaps to fill and I think we're golden. It is make or break time now. We've got the heat gun in, we've channeled out all the old sealer that bonded the lens into the housing. So that's now all excavated. We'll call that excavated. Everything else is glued. We're kind of ready to put the lens back on. Now I'm going to use this, which is a marine grade RTV silicone sealer. It's good enough to keep boats floating. It's good enough to keep this thing dry, I would hope. So first step, I'm going to get a whole load of bead right into the channel all the way around here. Then we're going to get the lens on, and then we're going to try and gently compress the two together and pop the clips on. Then we'll leave it for 24 hours, let it seat. And then following that, I'm going to look for any wee fine cracks that we've not quite managed to address and just get them sealed up as well, just to make sure that we've got as much chance as possible of keeping the inside of this lens dry. Tell you what, after all that I've realised something. I like fixing engines over fixing bodywork. But we've managed to shave a good few quid out of the budget and we've got two headlights working again. So, decision to be made on the bumper, bonnet to be rectified and the windscreen. After that we should be good to go with this guy. So that's a kickstart on the Skyline project. I hope you've enjoyed it. Something a bit different, isn't it? So we'll be back probably at some point with more of this. It's going to be a wee background project, but we'll bring her back to life. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Everyone running up the side of the screen, massive thanks. Project supporters and all that jazz. If you want to know what that's about, patreon.com/toolsandtrack. Help a brother out. If not, that's cool. Hit the like and subscribe and bell and all that crap, because it's the only way we grow. Hope you enjoyed this somewhat different Skyline content for once. If you did, I hope you'll be back for a bit more. In the meantime guys, stay safe.
Don't
Look at
touch
the,
these
look at the scowly face. Don't leave my tools in your workshop. All of that.
No, just in case you're looking for them.
Alright, no. Well, I will be eventually, obviously, not at this exact moment, but thank you very much.
More thoughtful.
Thank you. Thanks, Daddy Craig. Look at that here.